Hello, fellow crafty people. Tanya here with a Fishie birthday card. I am so excited to have been invited to participate in Trinity Stamps video blog hop. Trinity Stamps is celebrating its second birthday, and to help celebrate, I'm making a Slimline birthday card with the Shellabration stamps and dies. The owner of Trinity Stamps was kind enough to send those to me to create on this video hop. So I took a piece of 4¼ by 5½ inch 80-pound Nina Solar white cardstock and put it in my MISTI to stamp several of these images. I've got two normal shaped balloons and one fish shaped balloon, and I'm going to color those up several times. Now the coloring, I'm leaving it in here because a lot of people enjoy watching the coloring. If you don't want to watch the coloring, in the description box below the video will be the time mark for where the coloring ends and the rest of the card construction starts. So I chose some yellow, blue, green, and orange colors of Copic markers and blended those together to create these cute little fish balloons and the other balloons also. So I just start with the lightest and move to the darkest. Go to the darkest and blend those together. I'm trying to remember which Copic markers those were. They will be listed for surezies on my blog. I always make an accompanying blog post for every video that I do. I just happen to have the cup full of Copics left on my desk here, and it is YR23, YR16, and YR07 for the orange fish, which is what I'm working on right now. Hopefully I'll remember to list each of them as we go. But I may not remember. I'm going to try to have a little story time here. I don't know about you, but themed birthday parties were not a huge deal when my kids were growing up. My kids are older. I had my kids very young. So the birthday party abilities were limited. So our rule was you could invite as many friends over as you were years old. So the parties kept getting bigger as the kids got older. Granted, when they were 16, they didn't have 16 friends. Oh, well, maybe some of them did. My kids were not super popular in school, but that's okay. Popularity is surface deep most of the time anyway. But they certainly had enough friends. They had classes that were pretty big, though. Graduating classes for each of my kids was between 300 and 400 kids. And I don't want you, but I grew up in a small town. And my class, when I graduated, was the biggest class that had ever graduated from our school at 105 students. That was a pretty big class. Anyway, the only themed birthday I can remember for my children was my oldest son's, I think it was his 5th birthday, maybe 4th. Anyway, it was a Barney themed birthday. He loved Barney. I have a terribly, well, if this son of mine was very easily embarrassed, it would be an embarrassing photo, but this is not a very embarrassable young man. But I have a picture of him sitting there in Barney underpants, Barney socks, a Barney hat, a stuffed Barney, a poster, and a couple other things that were all Barney themed. Do you remember the big purple dinosaur? I loved that big purple dinosaur because that was the only time I got to close my eyes for 15 minutes during the day. And you might wonder why that was so difficult. Well, I had my 3rd child when I was 20. So they were, oh gosh, when Barney was the big deal for us, they were like 3, 2, and 6 months, right up until we moved to Bemidji. Anyway, that was a couple years of Barney being my 5-minute nap on the couch, you know, where you just close your eyes and listen to what the kids are doing, but you're not actually looking at them. Dangerous, I know. Anyway, as the kids got older, they started to think that Barney wasn't quite so cool. So we thought it would be good blackmail material. It was not. Not for that child. No. Our daughter had, as a teenager, taken the Barney stuffed animals and wrapped it in chains and hung it from a hook on her ceiling. Yeah, she was a little dark. We can laugh about it. I mean, kids do some pretty weird things. I did not have a girly girl. I had 3 boys and a very tough girl. That's okay. I'm not really a girly girl either. That's all right. Anyway, back to the thought of themed birthday parties. This would be adorable. It's pretty gender neutral. The fish-shaped balloons are so fun. I love those fish-shaped balloons. They really inspired me out of that stamp set. And there's some really cute, there are other images in that too. I love the octopus. I could certainly come up with some awesome ideas there. And there's a couple of gift wrapped boxes, a cupcake, a glass, an ice cream cone, and a hat. There's all kinds of cool little add-on pieces. And every single image in that stamp set has a die, as do the sentiments. I adore that. I am so thrilled when any of the stamp sets have a die that cuts out the sentiments. I love it. Yes, I do buy the dies. I can fussy cut. I would prefer to use the die. We've moved on to the yellow. Maybe I'll catch all of the colors yet. Let's see. I used Y04, Y06, and Y08. I think I ended up adding back YR16 on this yellow tip, on the fish for sure. On the big round balloon, I'm not sure. I can't remember if I did that or not. And the blues I use are B14, B04, and B16. As I'm filling that balloon in there quick. And the greens I used are YG01, YG13, and YG07. Again, they will be listed on my blog post if you want to see those. You can certainly go there and see the still photos and read about details also. I'm going back with the orange for this round balloon. The coloring is almost complete here. Other things that we did for birthday parties. Oh, I remember one where they did silly string and water gun fights, and I think they were like, I was like a 15-year-old. Okay, so now we have the dies, cutting out the balloons. I did all of the balloons together. I just batched, after I colored them all, I die cut them all, and I had started to add some gel pen details before I die cut, but then I thought, ooh, you know, I'm running the risk of those plates messing up the gel pen. I did cover each of those images with clear Wink of Stella shimmer pen, whatever you want to call it, and then I added Sakura jelly roll pens and black and the Stardust one. So I'm going to move on and use the Waves stencil from Trinity Stamps. That's also part of this latest release. And I'm using the Speckled Egg Distress ink first here on the first piece of the stencil, and then I'll use the Speckled Egg Distress Oxide. So you can see the difference of the two formulas on one card. It does make an interesting contrast. The colors are just slightly different between the two formulations. And these stencils are really special in that they have a laser etched of the other, because it's a two-piece stencil set. So it has the laser etching of the opposite stencil so that you can line these up super easy. That is, if you remember, or if you, you'll see me struggle just a little bit because I keep flipping it the wrong end and then the wrong side, but I get it eventually. And if you didn't line it up perfect, this particular pattern, it really wouldn't matter because it's a pretty abstract pattern. And to solve this etched outline issue, because I tried to line it up first and then put tape on the back, but that was just going to mess up my lining up. So I added the tape, washi tape, sticky side up, and then lined up the stencil again and pressed it down against the washi tape before I went ahead and continued with the, I forgot to switch, with the Distress Oxide version of Speckled Egg. This is the newest Tim Holtz Distress ink color, Speckled Egg. And it is a great addition to the color lineup. I love it. I did break down and get a separate set of the blending brushes for my dye-based inks. I had been using the first set on oxides and reactive inks, and I don't like the way it transfers the oxide or reactive ink to the dye ink pad, and then that kind of messes up the blending with the dye-based ink. It didn't ruin any of my dye-based ink pads, but I just took a wash, or my cleaning rag, the one I use to clean my stamp pads and my surfaces. I just took it and wiped the top of the pad in order to get rid of the oxide or reactive ink off of the dye-based ink pads. So I'm just about finished with the second piece of that stencil and getting a good sweep across that. So I'm going to take the stencil off and I'm peeking to make sure it looks the way I want it to look. I'm going to take the washi tape off and I'm going to pull out my trusty pearlized water, which is just a little bit of perfect pearl colored Perfect Pearls powder in a spritzer bottle, and I spritz that over the entire panel. It didn't really cause any bleeding. Sometimes it can. The ink can sometimes bleed a little bit, but it didn't this time. And I spray it down quick, and I had used 110 pound Nina Solar White in order to cut that panel out, and I had used a Trinity Stamps die set. Let me find it quick. It is the Wonky Stitched Wilderness Slimline series die set to die cut. That will make a panel that covers an entire front of my Slimline card, because I am going to use the envelope die from Trinity Stamp also at the end of this video to create a coordinating envelope for it. And the size that fits best in that envelope is if you use a 7-inch by 8.5-inch piece of cardstock, scored at 3.5 inches, which makes it 3.5 by 8.5 inch. I'm lining it. I had 4 sets of those balloons, so I'm going to put one on the inside, one set. I'm lining those up quick. After I did some stenciling on the inside of the card, which I swear I've done that on every card for the last 3 weeks, and I love it. I like to decorate the insides of my cards, and stencils are quick and easy and very, very adaptable. So I used that on the inside of this card, and then decided to use the extra balloons on the inside also. So I glue those down quick. I'm using the Barely Art Precision Glue. I still adore that glue. I don't know why we all have fleeting love affairs with different adhesives. This is, I think, going to be my go-to for a long time. It works on everything. Just it works so well. And I love that it's easy to use on very fine detail things. It has a nice fine tip and it doesn't really clog. Once in a while I'll need to use my long stick pin to get it open again, but not, it takes just a second. So I'm taking some VersaFine Onyx black ink on a scrap that's actually a leftover from the balloons that we colored and die cut. And I am stamping these on that scrap. I will also heat emboss those with some clear embossing powder. Yes, I am using all 3 sentiments from this stamp set. I thought they were all adorable and I couldn't decide which one to not use. So I'll take some Brutus Monroe Icicle embossing powder. I like how thick and raised the embossing is with this embossing powder. Just going to pour it back into my little jar. I don't have a ton of space to store all of the embossing powders, and I have a lot of embossing powders because I do a lot of embossing. A lot. I don't think a card goes by without at least some embossing. So I'm going to heat set that really quick. And then I'll get out the coordinating dies from the die set. I adore coordinating word dies. So I'm super excited when I see any stamp set that has coordinating dies. So I'm going to cut those out quick. I'm using my Sidekick because it's convenient to do that, especially if you wanted to see the die cutting, because I don't have the ability to bring my video over to where my die cut machine is, and my die cut machine does not fit underneath my video area. What's your opinion on these being suitable for an adult? I think it's cute. I think you could get away with it. I think this could work with any age. I think too often we don't give men credit for liking whimsical things like we do. Just because they're men doesn't mean they don't have some enjoyment of the whimsical things. I know that there are a lot more guys doing crafting, and I am so excited about that. I think it's about time. This is not something, this should be a very inclusive community, and I'm happy to see that it is for the most part. And I can't wait to see even more men joining the crafting sharing community. So I adore coaster blanks as my dimension. I don't use the foam tape or fun foam for that. You can die cut coaster blanks and you can use any adhesive. Here I've used scraps of coaster blank to die cut all of the sentiment shapes again, and I'm just adhering those to the back. I'm putting a little a heavy block on top, but you know, I probably wouldn't even need to do that. And then I will get to work putting these on my card. Which of these is your favorite sentiment? We've got Happy Birthday, Let's Celebrate, and Fishie Wishes. I think they're adorable. I like that they're separate words too. I had a little bit of that die cut image that didn't pull loose the negative part, so I used my pokey tool, which I just got. That is the Concord 9th pokey tool. I don't know what it's really called. Craft pick, maybe? I got tired of improvising and using weird items on my desk to do the removal of dies of paper from dies and that kind of thing. So I purchased that like a week ago. Super excited that it came. So I had grouped all of these different die cut images and used a little washi tape to keep them stuck together. And I thought I was going to be able to move that first bunch because I was going to adjust it just a little bit, but this glue sticks pretty darn fast. So I really don't need to put the heavy block on these, but I did. I just did. And normally I put a whole lot more dimension. You would think I would have put dimension on all of those balloons, but I just decided not to. And you'll see a little more why later. So I'm going to adhere these down. This first set of balloons is going to have the happy birthday sentiment, and that happy was just so excited it couldn't stay on the card front. And then we're going to do Let's Shellabate. I don't have anything shell themed on this card, but it's still, I mean, ocean, fish, that works, right? And then it says birthday fishes on the last grouping here. And in real life, you can see the shimmer on everything. It's not like in your face, but it's subtle and pretty, and I love it. Love it. Look at that octopus. I was actually really just looking to see if I wanted to use the string image, the balloon string image. Now, I believe I'm going to spare you the 10 minutes it took me to figure out where I wanted all of these adorable little embellishments. These are the Trinity Stamps Bubble Bath Flat Back Bead Mix, and there are 4 different sizes of these iridescent beads, half-back beads, flat back beads, yes. And they are so gorgeous, and I put gobs of them on this card front. They have a lot of dimension all by themselves. I used 3 of the sizes. I didn't use the largest size. It was just a little too big for the images on this card, but they'll be perfect for some other project. I just know they will. I'm using a wax pencil to pick these up. I got a package of 10 of them for like $4 or $5. It was pretty inexpensive. I wasn't ready to pop for one of the pickup tools. And that's the whole card. Now I'm going to take a sheet of 12 by 12 paper. I won't call this cardstock. It's pattern paper from one of the die cut with a view stacks that I got many years ago. And I've been using those to make envelopes for a while now. And I'm using the Slimline envelope die set from Trinity Stamps. And here I'm showing you that you need a 4 1/4 by 12 inch strip, a 3 inch by 12 inch strip, actually 2 of those. And then what's left is the 1 3/4 inch by 12 inch strip. I suppose if I had cut that extra bit above each of those, I could have managed to have a piece big enough to have the bottom flap going in the same direction as the rest, but I did not think of that. I didn't. So I'm going to score each of those fold lines. They all have a line that's, well, all of them that fold have a line, and I'm just going to use my liquid adhesive again to adhere those to the front piece of the envelope, and carefully line those up on the main panel. I think I did this a couple different ways. I did end up getting a little wonky on that side, and that adhesive dries pretty fast. It's a really permanent stick too, but I'd been fussing with it too much that first piece, so I had to put a little more glue on it because it dried before it actually had a chance to be adhered. So I'm going to try folding the edge over and butting the edges together and then folding those over. That didn't quite work as planned. I had just a little hair too over. This actually worked up the best, where I folded it over and lined up the edge that way. And I did that with the top and the bottom. And once I have those adhered, I'll fold the 2 side flaps in. I will put a little bit of a liquid adhesive on one of the side flaps. Just a little bit. Make sure you don't get it where you're going to have problems. Like this one, I had to take a little bit off of that end, otherwise it would have sealed the end a little too high up. I'm going to trim off that little overhang, and that's it for the envelope. all done. And this will be the card and the envelope together. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear what you have to say about my card. Thank you so much for stopping by to watch my video. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you'll get notified of any future videos. A thumbs up and a comment would be awesome also, especially on this video hop. By commenting on every video in this 3-day video hop, you get entered into a drawing with to win a $25 gift certificate at Trinity Stamps. If you're interested in any of the products I used on this project, you will find a list with links in the description box below. I really appreciate all of you that click on my affiliate links and make purchases. It helps make more of these videos possible. I will see you again soon on the next video. Stay happy, healthy, and crafty. Bye-bye.